How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the first shot and review of the 2025 Husqvarna Svartpilen 401. It would appear that in the 5 years since I've done this motorcycle as a giveaway bike, many things have changed. Number one, I can now pronounce Husqvarna.
Today we're taking a look at the Husqvarna Svartpilen 401, Husqvarna 401, the Husqvarna 401. The Husqvarna Chainsaw 401 is simply the best chainsaw you can buy on the market today.
Well, some Swedish person might tell me that I'm not pronouncing it correctly. Husqvarna motorcycles. That's what it says on the side of the bike right there. Number two, this bike has radically changed since when it first came out. There's a ton of new features, ton of new things to talk about, new frame, new geometry, new engine, new basically everything. Is it still my darling beginner motorcycle? I have laid claim to this bike as being one of the best beginner bike buys forever. I think it's awesome. I think it's a ton of fun. And today we're going to find out if this new 2025 model still has the charm, still has the flavor, and most importantly, can it compete in the new marketplace? Now, of course, I did want to mention, this is a giveaway bike on YamiNoob.co. We just wrapped up the CBR 650R. We're going to be announcing the winners of that one publicly very soon. We also want to extend our congratulations to Jeremy from Iowa for winning the MT-07. You can see him here looking happy and loving life. If you want to win this motorcycle, head over to YamiNoob.co, become a member right now. You'll lock in your best chance to win. You'll earn entries every month. You can assign them to this bike, or you can wait until we do a motorcycle you really like, and then you can put the entries towards that one. We've got the new Panigale V2S coming up later this year, the CF Moto 675. We got the R9, and a surprise beginner bike towards the end of the year as well. Lots of cool stuff coming on the channel. You're not going to want to miss it. Head over to the website, support the show, and become a member. All right, so brass tacks on this motorcycle before we take it out for a spin. 399cc single-cylinder engine. This is largely based on the Duke 390 motorcycle from KTM. Husqvarna and KTM have a partnership. They share lots of motorcycles and models. This is the Svartpilen model. You can also get this motorcycle as a Vitpilen. And that's going to make it to where it comes with more road-oriented tires, tubeless wheels as well. Although these Pirelli Rally Scorpions may be tubeless. It does say radial tubeless on here, but the spokes are inside. So I'm not sure if it's tubed or tubeless. Only one way to find out. We may crack that open one day. You get adjustable WP Apex suspension. Kind of a cool feature on a beginner bike. You don't see that often. Really just a cool-looking motorcycle, right? It's got this like cyberpunk kind of like urban assault vehicle aesthetic to it. I always thought these bikes looked really, really cool. And yeah, it's just like a really humble, fun little beginner bike that almost anybody could ride and enjoy, and it's why I recommended it for so many years. The fit and finish is nice. It's got a really cool paint job. It's kind of bronze accenting everywhere, and a really nice new TFT display on this machine we're going to talk about as well, with a really weird feature that I got to point out to you guys later in the video. Price for this machine is $5,999. It's actually gone up about $1,000 since I first reviewed the Svartpilen back in 2020. So $1,000 extra over 5 years in the current economic condition, not too bad all things considered. Let's swing a leg and let's check out how it fits. Swinging a leg over the Svartpilen here, I am 5'11" with a 32-inch inseam. This motorcycle has a 32.3-inch seat height, but don't let that scare you. This motorcycle has actually gone down in seat height a little bit for a lot of really interesting changes we're going to talk about in our detailed studio video later on this week. Suffice to say, I think this motorcycle could fit for a lot of different size riders. I don't think you need to be super short or super tall. This is a pretty neutral seating position. Nice reach to the bars here. And it's a great look out of this cockpit. Flicking the key on, the TFT display comes to life here, and this really interesting kind of like minimalist, like hyper visible lettering comes to life here. Let's go ahead and turn it on because it loves to give me little warning signals depending on everything you're doing. Look, you put the kickstand down and it's like side stand with like a really big yellow thing. Yellow is a big theme of this bike, as you'll see. Turning it on, fires right to life just like the old 373 used to. You can actually see the vibrations right there. Watch this foot peg. Yeah, this bike is a little vibey. It's a single cylinder, but it's still a lot of fun. So check this out really quick on the TFT. We can change the interface here to the reduced format. And I just wanted to point this out because I do think it's super cool. Go to reduced. Look how minimal that is, man. You get speed, indicator, tacho. That's it. Such a pure, cool. This is what I always ask for in my TFTs. I'm like, I want them to look like this. So go back here. I do like this. This no favorites one is the one I prefer, because then I can see my range, my time, and some other features as well. All that being said, let's go take it for a ride, shall we? You'll notice that I was able to hit the quick shift up because this motorcycle has Husqvarna's easy shift system. Basically a quick shifter system up and down. The actual sensor is inside of the transmission case as far as I understand, because there's no sensor on the rod on the outside of the bike, which is kind of unique. The auto blip down actually works pretty well. Overall, the experience of the easy shift system on this bike is much more of like a premium style motorcycle. So enter this corner here, we'll be on the brakes, we'll go down 2 gears. Works pretty well. Usually on single cylinder machines, the auto blip down is very rough. I've experienced that on KTM's products with their larger single cylinder enduro offerings like the 690 SMCR and Enduro R. I've ridden those motorcycles, and oftentimes the quick shifter on those just feels a little funky. So the humble little Svartpilen, man, does it still have the magic of the one from 2020? Yes and no. I regret to inform you that this bike has changed a little bit. It is now a little bit more like in line with everything else that's going on in the market. It's lost a little bit of its like really unique charm and flavor and character that it had, and there's a couple reasons for that. Number one, this new 399cc single, while it does produce a teensy bit more torque, it retains the same piston size. It just is a little larger, is a little longer stroke, so you get a little bit more torque off the top. But I think that the motorcycle now suffers, unfortunately, from some very, very lean fueling from down low. This bike now is very easy to stall. It has very strange throttle characteristics that doesn't make it as direct as the 373cc used to be. I was doing my preliminary research on this motorcycle before riding it, and that was something that basically every reviewer talked about, and I have to agree with from here in the saddle. Low down in the revs, kind of middle of the range. It has like this really big surge in power that's not as satisfying as some of the other bikes that have the same issue. For example, the Aprilia RS457 has a very similar issue, but because it's a sportier motorcycle, I kind of forgive it because it feels almost two-stroke-esque in its nature. It's kind of like this fun, peppy power band, and the RS660 has something kind of similar, so it kind of fits in line with it. But with this motorcycle, something that's designed to be a street bike, something fun, something playful, you really want accessible, immediate power, and to not have it feel so like zingy and kind of awkward and strange. And this motorcycle really does feel quite strange in the middle of the rev range, and just in general, the application of throttle and what you get out of the engine, it's like there's very specific rev ranges where this bike works really well. Otherwise, it feels not so nice. It's very lean, very kind of weird. And so this is one of the few bikes I would recommend if it is available, which I have not done research on this. It may benefit greatly from a complete ECU flash. And again, I don't normally recommend that because it voids warranty. It's like a whole pain in the butt to do. But much like the ZX4 that we tested, in order for you to really feel this bike, I think it's almost necessary to flash it and to get the fueling to be a little bit more correct. So if that is an option for this bike, I highly recommend it. Beyond that, the motorcycle has gotten a little bit longer, a little bit more grown up. The geometry's changed a little bit. The rear shock is in a totally different position now than it used to be. And so that's really changed the vibe of this bike. It feels much more grown up. It feels a little bit bigger in the saddle, but it still feels like it's highly usable for entry-level riders. We'll notice here that the power isn't overwhelming at all. It makes 44 horsepower and 29 foot-pounds of torque, revs to a little over 10,000 RPM. It actually does this really cool thing on the dash, you guys will see here, as you rev it up, goes to a full yellow, and indicating that you need to change gears. So some really cool effects on the TFT display here in conjunction with the engine. Pirelli Rally Scorpion STR tires rolling on 17-inch wheels front and back. Wire spoke wheels give this bike a really cool aesthetic. Like I said, it's got this interesting urban assault vehicle vibe to it. It's a really, really fun kind of look to this bike, and certainly very attention grabbing. The single round minimal headlight, the protruding gas tank that's all angular. There's really nothing on the road that looks like this motorcycle, and I think it still grabs a lot of attention, even if it isn't quite as mind-blowingly crazy looking as the first generation was. Handling wise, this bike is incredibly neutral to steer. It weighs about 350 pounds, and with the wide handlebar, neutral ergonomics, it doesn't have a super aggressive wheelbase or trail, and so this bike feels almost perfectly neutral and balanced to me. It doesn't feel very twitchy. It doesn't feel like a super sport that's trying to just carve corners nonstop. It's not a lazy bike at all. It's very willing to flop over from side to side, and that makes it super enjoyable to ride in a lot of different ways. That, I think, is what makes a fantastic beginner bike, is the concept that it should be flexible in a lot of use cases. And that was one of the things that I mentioned about this bike that I really, really loved back in 2020. I said that it was a really cool styling exercise, made great power, was priced really well. You could scramble it on some gravel roads if you were brave enough. This is not really an off-road machine, but with the fact that it weighs, 350 pounds, it has knobbly-esque tires, you can trundle down a little dirt road or some gravel with it. It's super happy commuting and going to work or school, and you can have fun on a twisty road with it too, all within the confines of a motorcycle that looks really cool and makes appropriate power for a beginner. So I still think it's a really, really fantastic option. But the game has changed, man. The game has changed. When this bike was new in 2020, 2019, I don't remember exactly the year that it came out, there was really nothing like it. There was really nothing like this motorcycle, and there still kind of isn't in the beginner category, something that looks this cool and has this kind of feature for this price. But the baby adventure category is the closest thing to this, and that's really evolved a lot in the last 5 years. That was a category that didn't exist back when this bike was new, and now it has to contend with it, right? But I think with the adjustable suspension, the overall vibe and design of this bike, which is, in my opinion, leaps and bounds ahead of basically everything else in the market, I still think this bike looks super cool and rides super cool. I don't think that there's much that can compete with it, but the competition is fierce. That's why we have to dedicate a whole competition video, because there's a lot to talk about, because there's so many bikes you could pit this up against. One thing I really appreciate about the Svartpilen 401 is, despite having a pretty cool feature set, it's got adjustable suspension, it's got a TFT display, quick shifter up and down, I don't find that stuff impedes upon the riding too much. And when I'm sitting here just scooting down the road with it, it still feels like an awesome, fun beginner bike that I could see almost anybody enjoying. It doesn't really get in the way of the experience. Braking is handled by a single disc caliper. If memory serves me correctly, it's obviously the same hardware as the KTM Duke 390, and that's a single disc Vibri brake system, because I believe this bike is made in India, is it? I know the smaller displacement KTMs are made in India. I can't remember if these Svartpilens are as well. I would have to assume so, because it's the same frame, same engine, just with a little bit of a different bodywork and a little bit of a different vibe. Now, speaking of features, I wanted to point out one of the strangest features on this motorcycle. Now, I want you guys to see, I'm going to keep my eyes on the road, but I'm going to put my camera a little bit lower. If you look on the dash there, you see at the top, there's something that appears to be a cruise control type of thing, and it says 48 miles an hour. Now, when I got this motorcycle, I thought that it was equipped with cruise control, because if you go in the settings, there's a thing that says speed limiter, and you're like, oh, okay, like a speed limiter, that's interesting. And it says res and set, just like cruise control. You activate it, looks just like cruise control. It is not, in fact, a cruise control. What it is a speed limiter, which is perhaps the most Euro thing I've ever heard of in my life. So, you guys will see here, again, keeping my eyes on the road, if I tap down, and you guys see that the limiter says 49 miles an hour, right? I can open this throttle as much as I want. It won't let me go past 49 miles an hour. So it's not a cruise control. It doesn't allow you to just, you know, get your hands off the throttle, but it knows how fast you're going and is controlling throttle input. So I'm like, you could literally just do cruise control. Why did you do a speed limiter? Then you didn't do cruise control. You had all the buttons here. You already programmed them to set, to cancel, to res, to increase the speeds. I can literally increase the speeds just like I would cruise control. But it's a limiter. It's not cruise control, but it's controlling the throttle. I'm like, you're almost there. You had just like one more step and you could have done cruise control. But I understand. It probably would have entailed doing the throttle canceling feature on the throttle housing, on the brake as well, on the rear brake. It's not that easy, but I was like, oh my God, you're almost there. Why does it have a speed limiter system? I've never seen anything like that on any motorcycle. It's very strange, and I had to point it out. It's one of the weirdest features on this bike. Click it into third. Let's pick it up. It's got a lot of attitude for a little beginner bike, man. It really does. I find that grabbing the up quick shifter, it sounds like a much more expensive, exotic motorcycle, which is really cool. So, I've infamously at this point tested the Pirelli Rally Scorpion STRs on track 2 different times on my Touareg 660, and this is a tire that consistently surprises me with the level of grip it can deliver. I think a lot of people look at the Pirelli Rally STRs, it's a knobby tire, they're like, well, that's not going to have much grip on road. You would be shocked at how this little bike can grip the road. You can absolutely grip the road in quite a ways. One of my favorite things about the Svartpilen is that it's fun at different levels of pace. That's the other thing I really like to look at and think about a motorcycle is, you know, is it fun when you're kind of like at that 7/8 pace, having a really good time with it? Is it fun at slower speeds? And this is a bike that is really fun in a lot of different ways, man. Like, this bike genuinely is so fun to just bomb around on a twisty set of roads like this. It's neutral enough in its positioning to where you could do a longer trip with it and be pretty comfortable. You guys will see my back is not super crunched over on this machine. I'm having a really good time with it and just cruising along here on this road. You know, it's a bike that you can spend a lot of time in and really enjoy it. The seat is pretty flat and wide too. Like, I actually feel like my butt has a pretty good perch on it. It doesn't have like an enduro style dirt bike seat or anything like that, so it's actually pretty sweet to use. Now you might ask, Gabe, are you gonna go track test it? I don't think so. I like track testing at least the sportier, you know, giveaway bikes, but, you know, a beginner bike with 44 horsepower and knobby tires, and there's really no point in track testing it, really. But we will do a dedicated sort of can it scramble test, so make sure you watch that later on in the coming weeks with this bike. We'll certainly do a sort of, you know, can you actually scramble this little bike? And maybe if you guys are lucky, we will take this bike on a little dirt offshoot here and there. Fuel economy is really fantastic on this motorcycle as well. That should be no surprise. A tiny fuel-sipping little single cylinder that is meeting Euro 5 Plus emission standards. It is incredibly fuel efficient. You could certainly see, I think, close to 200 miles of range with this thing if you were to ride it very, very judiciously. This bike also has a really nice amount of sort of strap-on points for like luggage and other options as well. This is a bike that I could certainly see you outfitting to do certain things, to go longer distance and have some fun with. Other things I can tell you guys about this bike is it does come with a somewhat rudimentary traction control and power limiting system. You have road and rain mode on this thing. You have street and wet modes for traction. You know, personally and philosophically, I think that a 44 horsepower single cylinder bike doesn't really need any sort of traction control system. That's obviously trickled down from the Duke 390 that has those sort of systems, and you know, that's just technology you're going to be able to keep on this motorcycle, and so that's something to think about. Heavy on the brakes, it'll do it. keep it wide open. Plenty of grip. Decreasing radius here. We'll hold our brakes. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Wait for it. And there's that slowest point right there. Then you add gas. Pick up an extra gear. Ooh, stay to the inside. That's why you practice good road positioning, boys. Keep your visibility and keep your options open. Yeah, you can really hustle this little thing. Way more than you'd imagine. And it's very stable. It's not twitchy. You don't feel like the limit's very close or anything. It's just super fun to ride, man. It makes me want to try the Svartpilen 801, but I just don't trust that motor. I don't trust that 790 motor at all. Yeah, super satisfying to go brake, throttle, brake, throttle. Very crisp in its delivery. So I'll tell you this, I complained a lot about the fueling, and the fueling is bad. Low down, it's very lean, very easy to stall. But when you're up and rolling, up in the higher RPMs, it's totally fine. It's like not that bad, but you need to keep it above 6,000 RPM, and then it feels like that linear, classic kind of motorcycle feeling that you want, rather than the kind of, you know, pokey, strange, improper, kind of bizarre delivery that the newer bikes can have. I don't know about estimated top speed on this thing. I think aerodynamically, you're gonna struggle going over 100 miles an hour with it. But we're gonna do a little highway test with it and see how she does. Okay, cruising on the highway on the Svartpilen 401. Clicking up into 6th gear, trying to merge into traffic here. And honestly, I really have no issues at all. I'm doing 65 miles an hour right now. This is not a particularly fast Texas highway. There's a little bit of traffic up ahead and construction, and so people are going a little bit slower, but you'll see that my rev limiter yellow screen is coming on. I can't adjust that until you get to 600 miles on this thing, so that's the safety feature on the bike. But obviously you're going to be okay to ride at 75 miles an hour in the first 600 miles of ownership. You're not going to blow the bike up or anything like that. Funny enough, these little mill KTM single cylinders have become very reliable in the last couple of years. They used to have some issues back in 2017 and 18, but they've gotten a lot better. So cruising here, 65 miles an hour. Pirelli Rally Scorpions feel really good at these speeds. You know, even though you have knobby tires on this bike, you're not going to get any weird wandering like you would on a dual sport. The knobs are spaced pretty close together, so it behaves more like a traditional road tire. I have a lot of experience with the Pirelli Rally Scorpions. As mentioned, I've had them on my desert sled for 6 years now. Not the same set of rubber, but, you know, in varying newer conditions throughout the years. And currently on my Touareg as well. And I mean, 70 miles an hour feels really nice and stable on this bike. I'm getting a little bit of wind buffeting from the truck up ahead of me. It is a lighter weight machine, and so it will feel a little flighty on the highway. That's something you will have to think about a little bit. Let's go ahead and go for a pass here. We're maxed out 6th gear. Getting a little bit more even turbulence of air on us right here. I was able to execute that pass in 6th gear, no problem on this bike. I actually thought that I'd have to shift down a gear, but that single cylinder gives me pretty accessible torque. Now, this is a bike that you could do longer distances with. It's not the best at doing it. Let's call a spade a spade. It's a little vibrational because in order to do the highway speeds, you're gonna have to click it up to, you know, 75, 80 miles an hour. You know, it tends to feel a little curious because of those Pirelli Rally Scorpions and that 350-pound weight, but it's totally workable, man. If you are planning on doing a lot of highway miles, if your commute includes, you know, sort of 15 miles on the highway to get to wherever your job or your work or whatever or your school is, then maybe consider something in a bit of a different category than this. I think this motorcycle works really, really well for people who are looking to carve up some twisty roads here and there, suburban style commutes, fast highway speeds. Obviously not the Svartpilen's forte, but totally doable. I mean, I'm cruising here on the highway in front of these cars. Like, I don't feel outgunned. I don't feel like a little fish in a really big pond or anything like that. So if you are a beginner rider and you do need to end up on the highway on a Svartpilen 401, know that it's certainly possible. All right, we're gonna check the prowess of the little Svartpilen on a dirt road, because I told you guys it can kind of scramble a little bit. So look at these kind of chunkier potholes. Look at this. You can stand up kind of okay on this motorcycle. I'll show you guys really quick. Like if you gotta kind of just stand up for a little bit to clear, you know, something a little bit nastier, that's fine. But it really feels like the type of bike you'd want to just kind of trundle down the road with, not necessarily stand up and attack like a proper ADV bike. But see, we're hitting some pretty big bumps here, and honestly, it's soaking it up pretty decently. I'm seeing the 360 going crazy. Let's wake it up a little bit. We'll splash through. Yeah, okay, like it's kind of doing it. See if we can kick out the rear a little bit. You can throw up a little bit of dust in your wake. Not too bad. But yeah, if you kind of stay seated, you know, just cruises along a little gravel road with some bumps and pots and holes and stuff. I think it can work really well for an urban commuter vehicle for that reason. These kind of remind me of Indian roads, to be honest. They're kind of not really roads. But you know, if you got a commute that has some bigger bumps and pops like that, you know, it can kind of do it. You see this? Not too bad. Maintaining a decent amount of speed through it. Splash the mud. Yeah. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm doing like borderline adventure bike stuff with it, and it's kind of handling it, which is cool. And you kind of throw up a little bit of you know, dust and dirt and grime. Makes it feel kind of fun, man. I'd recommend it. Nothing too crazy. Oof. That was a big bump. Nothing too crazy, right? I really don't recommend taking it on single track, but, you know, little gravel offshoots, I mean, that was more than I would have thought it could really handle. I thought I was going to bottom out a couple more times than that, but, you know, it kind of took it. That wasn't too bad. Further up ahead here, we have a little bit more of a test that I want to try. There's some bigger bumps, and yeah, maybe I'll fall off the thing. We'll know. We'll see. But yeah, I have TC totally off, the Supermoto mode for ABS, so it kind of is ideal for just kind of cruising along a little gravel path or something. It doesn't have that much power, so you're not going to, like, you know, spin up the rear tire like crazy like you would with a big adventure bike or something. So if you wanted to go explore the beaten path a little bit, try your hand at some off-road riding. This reminds me exactly of when I tested the 2020 Svartpilen, where I was like, you know what? It can kind of do it. I mean, look at this. You know, we're chopping it up on these kind of mini whoops here, and it's like, yeah, sure, man. It's kind of doing it. And I'm just seated this whole time. I'm not even having to really stand up. What am I, in second gear right now? Let's go ahead and do second through here. Oh, they filled that in back there. There used to be some really crazy bumps and lumps back there, but they filled it in. Well, tiny off-road section complete, and you know what? It did a whole heck of a lot better than I thought it would. It really did. That's impressive. Why don't we check the slow speed and then wrap up the review, shall we? Okay, slow speed manners on the Svartpilen 401. I've got Supermoto mode turned on. That means I have no ABS at the rear. I turned off traction control. This bike has a really generous steering sweep. Look at that, lock to lock. You go full lock. Put on the rear brake, look behind you. Look at that. It's really nice the way that it can maneuver slow speeds. The one tricky thing about it, though, is that throttle response and that fueling low down. I mean, check this out. Like, I can roll, and then it's like it just wants to die low down, which is just a bummer. You guys will see here, can crank it over to the right, no problem. Easy peasy. We'll go this way. Easy peasy. It's a very nice bike to maneuver slow speeds. You have a very nice wide handlebar, low weight, very neutral seating position. This bike's super fun to do that sort of thing with. So if you're looking for a little urban vehicle, this one could be the ticket. And of course, without that rear ABS, can slide the rear around, kind of treat this like a little baby stunt bike, huh? Pop little wheelies, slide it, come back the other way. It's fun, man. It's a super fun little bike to just like toss around and have a good time with, man. Like I said, it's fun, faster speeds on the twisties. It's fun doing this sort of thing with. It's a very complete little motorcycle. All right, boys, Svartpilen 401. The Svartpilen. What do we think? What do we think? Does it still have the charm? Is it still a fun bike? Yes, absolutely. It is still a really sweet bike, really fun to ride, really enjoyable to use. Can work on the highway. You guys saw it can scramble around a little bit. You can goof around with this bike, slow speeds. You can do some wheelies with it, slide it around. It looks really freaking cool. It's got adjustable suspension, full color TFT. The styling is futuristic. I mean, it still tugs at my heartstrings. I still think this is a really, really fantastic, well-executed motorcycle. Really fun to use. Really cool bike. It's just, I mean, we ride motorcycles because they're cool, right? And you want a bike that's cool. I think this is the one, man. This is just a cool bike. Downsides, of course, this new 399cc single is just limited by the fueling and the emissions, standards that are set in Europe. It's just a little hard to use low down. It is very prone to being lean and wanting to stall and die. You guys will see in my detailed studio ride and review, some of the fit and finish on this bike is a little questionable. The exhaust is a teensy bit, looks kind of out of place. But overall, a very well-executed machine. I'm going to rate it a solid 8.8 out of 10. Very fun to use, very fun to ride. And I think that if you're a beginner rider with $6,000 burning a hole in your pocket, this is a great bike to get. There's really fantastic dealer incentives on these right now because KTM's obviously having some of their issues and they want to move these bikes. So go and check out your local KTM dealer because I guarantee you they got a good deal on this. I got a really good deal on this bike out the door. I was actually pretty surprised I was able to get paid for it out the door. So I definitely go and recommend checking that out. Might end up being cheaper than some of the other bikes that you're looking at just for that reason alone. So boys, that's going to wrap up my review on these Svartpilen 401. Be sure to check it out on yamanoob.co. It is a giveaway bike. It is only here for the month of May. We're doing a new one every month or so we're going to try. Thanks again for watching today's video. I truly do appreciate it. We'll catch you in the next one. See you later.
Keep watching Yami Noob.